Red Corner Boxing. We're in the game.
Yes, good evening, fight fans. Mr. Neutral here with Red Corner Boxing. Just before we get into this interview, this program is sponsored by EasyStories.com for all your local and nationwide needs. They handle your goods with care. And of course, Boxing Fight Zone, our apparel and merchandise partners. Give them a check out in the links in the bio. Some brilliant stuff in there. Well, today we're joined by one of Scotland's most resilient fighters, Mr. Aston Brown, the undefeated middleweight with 9-0 professional record and newly crowned Scottish middleweight champion. A man who came up alongside Josh Taylor, sharing the same Team Scotland gyms, trading rounds long before either of them had a crowd to impress. After battles with injury, addiction, and 20 months of 1 month away from the sport, Aston has fought his way back to the top, proving that redemption isn't a headline, it's a choice. Aston, welcome, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me, man.
No, absolutely. It's an honour for me, mate. I'm a big fan. I mean,
Thank
you
you.
and Josh Taylor known each other since the amateur days.
Yeah.
What was that kind of drive working with him back in the day that that friendship created for you both?
Yeah, well, me and Josh sort of hit it off straight away, mate. Is when I first met him back in sort of 2008, 2009, and sort of same characters, know what I mean? Like to have a laugh, but serious when it came down to boxing stuff. And we became very close friends very quickly. But I always looked up to him in the sense I just knew he was a special fighter, mate. So I always sort of tried to follow things he was doing and stuff like that. Just such a talent for the first time I seen him winning gold medals internationally, and then obviously just cleaning up Scotland and stuff like that as an amateur, and then obviously both of us went on GB together quite quickly with the Commonwealth Games in 2010 together. He won a silver medal and he blew through everybody. Obviously he got beat in the final, but he was phenomenal, mate. He was just a phenomenal fighter, and I always knew, even through the GB days, I just always knew he's going to be special. You know what I mean? And I think everybody around about him knew that as well, and he was special, wasn't he?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I mean, your career started strong. Then
Yeah.
that early injury stopped everything. And looking back, you seen that was the spark, the catalyst that changed your path.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that injury? What happened, and what impact did that downtime have on your mindset?
So the injury happened basically in my professional debut. It was on Josh Taylor's undercard. His sort of homecoming fight that happened.
That's right.
And I won, obviously. What I mean, as I've said before in many other interviews, like, you win and you want to kick on. You're a young man, just turned pro, I was coming up back off of GB and stuff like that, so there was a lot of talk about me. And I snapped a tendon in my right hand, basically. Had to get a serious operation, which was going to put us out for a long time, and that just didn't sit right with me at that time in my life, because I was really wanting to kick on and make a living and become a world champion and do all the stuff that all us young fighters want to do, mate. You know what I mean? And it affected me massively.
Was
And
it
what
that
happened?
fear of you being a young man that you don't want
That's
to
it,
get
mate.
left behind and forgotten, sort of thing?
And that's exactly what it felt like, because it was like,
Yeah.
you have your pro debut and then that happens and then nobody's talking about you anymore. Nobody's talking, like, you've not got a fight lined up. And as a young man in the sport, that was hard to take. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, it's usually a buzz about me. It's usually something's happening. There's a fight being lined up or whatever it was. And that was non-existent. So, and then stupidly, you know what I mean? I can say, I chose the wrong road, mate. I chased a high that didn't exist. I chased drugs, you know what I mean? I chose to try drugs, and that gave me a sort of high that I felt at the time was like when I was in a boxing ring or training camp or whatever. I know now that
Yeah.
wasn't the case, you know what I mean? But I'm naive, young, and I think, oh, this'll be fine, and you know what I mean? And now looking back, obviously years later, I'm like, it's the wrong decisions, but the decisions that I chose back then and the hard times and that has made me into the man of the day, I believe, you know what I mean? So when people say, oh, would you go back and change it? I wouldn't change it, mate, because I'm here for a reason today, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I've battled
You
mental.
can't. Yeah, your experiences define you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. The question is, was it a gradual sort of length of time before, after the injury, then before you that darker path was chosen.
It was quite quickly, to be honest with you, mate. No, I mean, you can always look back and go, was I suffering before then? Know what I mean? Was I maybe chasing something? Was there something missing? Know what I mean? But it was quite quickly for me because, as I can remember, as far back, know what I mean? It's a long time ago now, but I can remember it was quite quickly. I progressed quite quickly, and before you know it, I'm out of the sport. I'm not even thinking about getting back to the sport. I'm using and I'm drinking and I'm doing all the wrong things, know what I mean? So it just shows you how quickly it can change. Your mindset can change on the basis of going to get back to the sport, I'm going to do this, and then before you know it, you're even thinking about getting back to the sport. Know what I mean? I thought my career was over. I thought this hand's never going to get better. There's a few issues, a few problems, and then before you know it, I'm well at the door. Know what I mean? And I'm going another way, another path in life. Nah, it was a mad time, mate. It's a crazy number of years. Know what I mean? But addiction is serious. Know what I mean? I'm a drug addict. Know what I mean? I'm very vocal about that. Of course, I'm clean and sober today. I'm touching 4 years, but I will always identify as a drug addict. Know what I mean? Because I need to
Yeah,
treat that illness.
I've heard you say
Yeah,
that before, that you,
yeah.
no matter how clean you are, you'll
Mhm.
still identify as a drug addict. Is that part of the daily treatment for yourself?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, same. Like it's part of the fellowship. It's part of what my identity. That's what I am. Know what I mean? And I need to treat that illness every single day. Know what I mean? I need to reach out to my fellows and stuff like that and get tuned in. I always run through my 12-step program. Know what I mean? I'm always doing inventory. I'm always working on myself basically. Know what I mean? To make sure that I stay clean and sober all day. As they say in fellowship, is that you only have a one day clean and sober. Know what I mean? So they say your addiction's basically doing press ups during the night, waiting for you to get up in the morning, and that's the way I look at it every single morning. So I need to get up and get tuned in. Know what I mean? I speak to my higher power, and then they take charge of my day.
And obviously, following with that, another issue came up where you were taken out the sport for 21
Yeah.
months. Was there a point where you said to yourself, what was that point when you said to yourself, look, I've got to make a change here?
Probably, probably when I came out of prison. Know what I mean? When I came out of prison, because again, during my time in prison, I wasn't going to come back to boxing. I wasn't going to get my professional license, but I wasn't going to try. Know what I mean? I was going to come out and maybe do coaching, open my own gym, something like that. But when I came out, um, the fire still burned, as they say. Know what I mean? I was sitting one night with my fiance, and I was watching two middleweights on the TV, and she's like, I was going, I could beat them, and she was going, you're not done yet, are you? And then I would always remember the next day I was back in the boxing gym again, training to come back. Know what I mean? But it was when I came out of prison, I said I need to change. Know what I mean? If I don't change or I don't try and change, um, I'll end up getting lifed off, or I'll end up no being here. Know what I mean? That was, and to me, there are no options. So I had to change, mate, and I got involved obviously in the fellowship and started getting clean and sober and started trying to make the steps to get my boxing license back and stuff like that, and getting back into the gym. Because when I came out of prison, I was 16 stone. You know what I mean?
Yes, because you put pure weight on in the
Aye,
jail there.
aye.
I know that myself. Was the mental obstacles, apart from, let's take the addiction out
Yeah.
off the table at the minute, and about your boxing mindset,
Mhm.
was there mental blocks in that way saying to you, no, don't be daft, you can't do this now, you're too old and all the rest of it? uh, give us an insight as to what
Aye.
mental battles were going on at that time.
100%, mate. 100%. You're too. My head was telling me, even though I was like, right, we'll go and try it and we'll go and do it. I always say this as well. See, through that full process of trying to get my license back and try to get back in the gym and try and train, and all that, it was a massive steps of losing weight to see if I was still had it. I mean, 'cause with many years at the ring, as you said, to see if was I too old. Know what I mean? Was I too old now?
Mm,
Was the sharpness, was the timing there? And then my return fight. I always say this to people, that was going to be the decider for me. If I like, how did I feel in there? Because see, if I didn't feel, I felt it's not there anymore. I'd have hung the gloves up. Know what I mean? Because there's a matter of
mm,
life at the end of the day. I'm not going to be in there a half-hearted or a half-assed and Brown, what it used to be. Um,
mm.
but I didn't. I felt good that night. know what I mean? It was good to get
Yeah,
back. It was obviously, I was nervous and stuff like that coming back, but that was good for me. I needed that. I knew I still loved the sport because how nervous and that I was. And I knew straight away, I said, as soon as I get a wee bit of momentum behind me, you're going to see the best of me. But it was more the feeling in the gym and stuff like that. When I was getting the weight off and I was training, I was feeling good, mate. I was feeling sharp. I was feeling strong. I was feeling mature, which sounds,
yeah,
which doesn't
yes.
sound
Grown
mad,
up.
but because I'm a full, like I'm a grown, I'm not going to get married anymore. A grown man I'm all now. Full man strength. Know what I mean? Maturity. You
Right.
know what I mean? Just a bit smarter. So that was that was the decision after that night. I'm gonna keep going with this because I know I can go far with this. Know what I mean? And again, I've dedicated my life to the sport, mostly all my life. So that's exactly what I'm doing again, mate. Know what I mean? Until the day comes we hang the gloves up, but hopefully that's many years to come.
Absolutely. We got a few comments coming in the chat already, but just before we get to that, you talked about, that coming back, feeling good, feeling strong, getting
Yeah.
your love back for the boxing. Were you proud of yourself at that point though? Because how far that you took what you thought you wanted to do. Not many
Hmm.
people, go through with it. You know what I mean, Aston?
Yeah.
And you done it. You come back, you clean, focused, determined, and you won. Proud of
Hmm.
yourself.
Yeah.
Let's get to some of these comments here, mate, before we move on.
Hmm.
Big up Neutral and Aston. BadMan Brown, big up yourselves. Thank you, LFC. You never walk alone. Håkan Ringside live from Sweden. Good evening, Mr. Neutral Aston Brown. Very good, mate. Good to see him back. Red Corner, that's a serious injury on the debut. Too right, it is, mate. And been there, Aston, says LFC. I did the same thing after tearing my bicep. And, again, we come back to that. It plays havoc with your
Hmm.
mind and your brain. It never goes away. It's for life. Exactly. Dan Aston, big up Dan Aston for the chat a lot. He's a big fan as well. Big up
Yeah,
Neutral and
man.
Aston Brown. You'd be a deal over 22, Aston. What's going on there? You look very
Yes.
well.
Class.
And you wouldn't think he's 34, would you? And NFC finishes it off. Is there any Scottish boxer you've got beef with that you'd love to iron out in the ring? We'll come to that in a bit. Uh, you know, uh, in the future. Sorry, questions in a bit, mate. We will get to that. But let's move on, mate.
Hmm.
Talk about Fergus Quinn, right?
Yeah.
For the was it Scottish area?
No, so
Maybe wait.
Fergus Quinn was the when I fought him in Ireland in Belfast.
Oh, that's right, in Belfast. Yeah, sorry,
I
I'm
went
thinking
over
of
there.
Porter.
Nah, Porter was
Yeah.
for the Scottish title. Hmm.
Oh, Scottish title. So Fergus Quinn, he's over there. When you got that result under your belt, it was a 10 round scheduled 10 rounder,
Hmm.
and you dealt with that. You thought, right, some cameras are back in there. Did the feeling right from the back, the good old days, as we call it, going back to your amateur days,
Yeah.
you must have had a high ambition, spectrum
Yeah.
yourself.
Definitely, mate. I did, know what I mean? And like after that Fergus Quinn fight, it was like again an undefeated fighter and stuff like that. So it was going to really show if I still had it and for me personally to go out and show my ability against because I was a big underdog going over there. Know what I mean? A
Oh,
massive
yeah.
underdog. Yeah, a massive
Wasn't he?
underdog, mate.
Wasn't he like? Oh, you fought a couple of guys who were like super middleweights as well when they come in the ring,
Aye, exactly. So,
and you beat them.
but the Fergus Quinn fight was obviously that sort of was the start of all this happening. Me getting back because it was on the zone, cameras, people
Yeah.
talking, and it was a fantastic knockout, wasn't it? It was
Oh,
sweet, you know what I mean?
oh, aye.
And it
Come
was
on,
sweet.
sweet.
So no, that it was a proud moment, mate. Obviously, because going over to
Yes.
Belfast and stuff. You, the underdog. I took 50 people with me, my family, mate. You know what I mean? I mean, we've done a job like that. You know what I mean, it was amazing. But that again, that was just a wee bit of my ability. I knew I was going to beat Fergus Quinn. You know what I mean? And I said beforehand, I says I'm not going over to beat Fergus Quinn in points. I'm going over to knock him out because it's very difficult to go there and the underdog and win on points if it's close and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that wasn't my intentions. My intentions to what to go over there and knock him out, and I done that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I was happy with that one, mate.
Yeah, the bad man AB was back, man, and
Yeah, man.
certainly was. And
Yes.
we come back to the hydro. and Reese Porter,
Yeah.
another fantastic performance. You know, Scottish. That was the Scottish title.
Yeah.
That was it. You know, another proud moment. Now,
Mm-hmm.
is the mind moving on quicker? It starts to move quicker about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I know I've heard you say, I watched your Dev Sani interview. You said yourself, no time. I've got no time.
No time,
Things
mate.
have got to move on.
Aye.
And then comes Paul Keane with
Mm-hmm.
that fantastic win again. You're making people think now, Aston.
Yeah.
You know,
That's it, mate.
where's Aston Brown going to go next? And you know, so signed a long term deal with Creasby. Congratulations on that. Um, you know, you starting to feel the power come back to Aston Brown. The redemption arc is
Yeah.
complete because you've done a lot to clear up your name and
Mm-hmm.
everything else that you know. So this is the reward for the hard work. So let's move on to your title ambitions.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you saw George Liddard
Yeah.
defeat Kieran Conway the other day. There, what do you make of that?
Um, I thought it was a fantastic performance, mate. I was very impressed, to be honest with you. I don't think I don't think it was because Kieran Conway was bad. I just think George Lillard was very good. He used his feet very well. He was very mature for a 23-year-old, and I was impressed with that, mate. But I've got no problems in life or in boxing to praise somebody that's at my weight. But I just believe in myself that I'm a better
Absolutely,
fighter and I would beat him. So,
absolutely.
you know what I mean? But I think every boxer should believe like that anyway. See, when I see other get like I can praise somebody, it's no problem for me to praise somebody. Cause see when like but I just believe in myself and my own abilities. But I was very impressed, mate. It was a great performance from the young boy. You know what I mean? And I say that because he is only young. He is only 23. You know what I mean? It's impressive. So, but it's a fight I want, mate. No, I mean he's got a voluntary next, and why no me?
Yeah.
Scotland versus England.
Yes.
Could be a
Scotland
massive fight, mate.
versus
Know what I
England.
mean?
Oh, come on. You know, they want some redemption for York and all the rest of
Mhm.
it. Yeah. Yeah. But that's obviously the you know that George Liddard win. It has to reset the levels in your mind.
Yeah.
Is a reminder what that he's at a British level
Mhm.
um, moving forward. But as you say, he's got a voluntary, you know, uh, now. So in case he doesn't come about, is you've got to look at right. Let's look at a step up, if nothing else. You know, if he's not
Mhm.
available, what
Yeah.
sort of fighter would you see as that next step up, but close enough to George Liddard?
It's probably it's hard to say names, mate. I just look at the rankings, see the top 10 rankings in
Aye,
Britain at middleweight. I just look at all the guys in that top 10 and think, right, we're all in about the same mix. Want to fight for the similar titles. So no less it's like an eliminator with one of the guys for the British
yeah,
title. Um, but all of them in the top 10, mate. It's hard to say names. You've got Brad Pauls, you've got Shaquille Thompson, but we're all fantastic fighters. Know what I mean?
Denzel Bentley, they're all there.
Denzel Bentley, but I just think maybe Denzel not maybe pushing on to try to push on to world level a wee bit, probably. Know what I mean?
Yes,
So and I understand that. Know what I mean, that's of course why would they know if the opportunities are there? So you've got a few guys floating in that mix as well, but let's see what happens in the new year, mate. Because again, George Liddard does have a voluntary. I don't
he
think he's the
does.
type of fighter to choose somebody outside that top 10 as a voluntary. I just don't. I think he's a 23-year-old young, hungry fighter who likes a challenge as well. And if I'm saying his name or calling him or whatever it is, you know what I mean? He might bite at it and go, do you know what? I'm gonna show this old 34-year-old. He might think that. You know what I mean? I've got different plans. But again, that's the fight I want, mate. That's the fight I'll be chasing in the new year.
Yes,
So fingers crossed. You know what I mean? But
and
again, it's up
Queens.
to them. It's up to them.
Yes,
He's the guy with the belts, and no, I mean it's up to him and his team.
absolutely. And Queensbury know that you can't have any kind of stagnancy in your
No.
career now. And I'm sure they'll be moving on pretty quickly. And like you said, the new year should, if not before, should
Hmm.
come up with you know until then. Right. I mean, we've talked about that. Let's talk about what message that you want to give back to youngsters in Scotland, especially. Um, about taking care of themselves, not only physically but
Yeah.
spiritually. And that. What's your message to
I
them,
think it's
mate?
very important, mate. Well, to young fighters especially. I always just say to young fighters to stay in the gym. I mean, there's no a better place now that I know. Obviously, being a bit older and more experienced, the gym is the place to be. You know what I mean? See, outside the gym, that's where all the chaos and all the madness and all the head swaying stuff went for me. And that gym was my safe place, if I want to say. You know what I mean? My safe place,
Yeah,
my place I knew what I was all about. You know what I mean? That's where Aston Brown was Aston Brown in the gym. You know what I mean? When I reached outside the gym and put the gym to one side and maybe associated with the wrong people and all that stuff. And looking back in life, I was like, massive mistake. You know what I mean? Massive mistake. If you've got a talent and you're a young fighter, stick with it. You know what I mean? Because I shot career boxing as well. And also, as a talking thing as well, because I didn't talk to anybody when I was going through my troubles. I always say when people ask me a question, how are you? I always just say brand new. That was my reply was brand new. But I was dying inside. I was lonely, I was anxious, I was full of fear, I was using, I was drinking, whatever it was, you know what I mean? I was so much stuff I wanted to say to people and but I just I'm fine because I just always think people just see me as this big tough boxer, you know what I mean? I should be okay. But that's not the case, you know what I mean? I think a lot of things are out now more about like young men speaking on and women as well and about mental health and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I think it's very important we all try our hardest as if we're struggling is to reach out, you know what I mean? And I always say to everybody or anybody, especially on social media lines and that, if anybody's struggling, man, they can always drop me a message and I'll always reply. You know what I mean? I'll always reply.
bless you, mate. Thank you for that. And it's
Anyways.
highlighted, especially in light of the passing of Ricky Hart.
Mm-hmm.
It's ever more important, no, for now, to talk about mental health, and we
Yeah.
talk about those barriers that you mentioned. Uh, what people will judge and all the rest of
Mm-hmm.
it. I was so surprised when I come out. My own personal struggles, just how many
Mm-hmm.
people were there available who
Yeah.
did want to talk to you and all the rest of it.
Exactly, mate.
So I think you're right. It's very important that we now more than ever is a signal to get people talking. And on that subject, Red Corner Boxing, and we've been talking to one of our good friend of mine, and he's going to come on and do a program with us. And we're going to talk about mental health in sport and boxing and
Mm-hmm.
life,
Yeah.
and encourage more men, women, you know, kids who are going through
Mm-hmm.
mental struggles to come on and drop and just say, look, I need help.
Uh,
Can anybody help me?
I'm struggling
Uh,
today, you
uh,
know what I mean?
yeah, I'm
And there can
struggling.
be loads of people in there who relate. You know what I mean? As I
Mm,
say, even going through addiction, there's nothing more powerful for me as an addict speaking to another addict because we can relate to so much trauma, stress, anxiety, whatever it is, using, we can relate. There's nothing more
yeah,
powerful for me. So it's exact same with mental health. You know what I mean? If somebody's struggling, you reach out because somebody might be able to relate. You know what I mean? You can work together. You know what I mean? You can go, that's how I feel. And it's a great thing. You know what I mean? But
mm,
unfortunately, a lot of people, when they're struggling, they don't want to talk. You know what I mean? And I've been there and I know how hard it is. It's just breaking that wee barrier. You know what I mean? To say, do you know what? I'm struggling. And as you said, there's so many people there who want to help.
there is. It is surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out myself one day, and somebody was
Mm-hmm.
within talking to me within 5-10 minutes, and never looked back since then. Look,
Exactly,
and
mate.
Red Corner Boxing is here because of that. That redemption for myself, and that's why I identify with it, mate. And it's just inspiring. Now, before we get to the end of this interview, mate, I've got to ask you, where does Aston Brown want to see himself in 2 years' time?
British champion, mate. British champion in 2 years' time, possibly even European champion. I don't know, all right, but that's where I would love to see myself. But I'm a guy. it takes life one day at a time now. You know what I mean? So it's one fight at a time for me. Every fight's my last fight because I don't have the comeback. See, like I defeat and then come back. I don't have that anymore. I've always said that for day one. I don't have that, mate. You know what I mean? So every fight's my last fight. So 100% every single fight, mate. Win
100%.
and winning style as I've been doing lately. You know what I mean? And may the story long continue, mate, because you never know. Boxing's a funny sport, you know what I mean? Before you know it, in 2 years' time, you could be a world champion, who knows? It's a funny business, isn't it, you know what I mean? You put yourself in the right position, the right fights, who knows?
Absolutely. Look at Fabio Wardi last night.
Exactly,
What did you
mate.
think of that fight?
It was a fantastic fight, mate. It was a fantastic fight, and hats off to Fabio, because he's got some chin on him, know what I mean, and he can just keep going and keep going. He's got some engine as well. He's a fit guy, know what I mean, explosive. Like, as everybody knows, came for the white collar background, all the amateur experience and all that. Joseph Parker with all the amateur experience. It was a back and forth fight. I just thought at times Fabio just looks as if he's got a wee bit more explosiveness. He could hurt Joseph, and he did. But what a great fight! Both great fighters, both great guys. A lot of respect for the two of them, mate. Aye, I was impressed.
Absolutely. Great fight. And he's done really well. Just goes to show you the stories involved in the path to glory, and talking about, stories. Aston, Aston, your story is not just about boxing. It's about life and redemption and everything else, from an early injury that could have ended everything to the shadows and to addiction as well. And of course, your incarceration. But you've risen again with purpose. Now standing 9-0, the Scottish middleweight champion and a voice of experience for Scotland's next generation, mate. You prove that the fight outside the ring is it's the hardest one to win. You've shown that rock bottom isn't defeat, it's foundation, and every comeback starts with honesty. I want to thank you for that. Undefeated in record, undefeated in spirit. Aston Brown, thank you for showing us what it's all about.
Thank
My
you
name's
for having
Mr.
me.
Neutral.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Thank
My
you,
name's
mate.
Mr. Neutral. This is Red Corner Boxing. We're sponsored by EasyStories.com for all your local and nationwide needs, and of course, Boxing Fight Zone for your merchandise and apparel stuff here at Red Corner Boxing. Give them a link. There may be a wee discount as well for you. We'll sort it out. But Aston, thank you once again. See you next time. Red Corner
Thank you,
Boxing.
mate. Cheers, man.
Mate.
Yeah.
I'm moving.